Hi everyone, welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio, and I'm your host, Deborah Bailey, and again today we're going to be joined by my co-host, Kerry Heaps, and we're going to be talking about another interesting topic about marketing. So I know you're going to be really excited to hear about it, and it's going to be about educational marketing, which is really, really hot right now, and I think will certainly continue. So I think that you're going to really enjoy our discussion and learn a lot about how you can use this in your business. So if you're a listener of Women Entrepreneurs Radio, then you already know a lot where you can find the show on Podomatic, dbcoach.podomatic.com, and also on iTunes. Just search for Women Entrepreneurs Radio, and also an archive on Blog Talk Radio, going back over 7 years. So you can find links for the shows on the blog womenentrepreneurssecret.blogspot.com. You can go there and you can find a link for all of the shows. And also you can stop by my website, deborahbailey.com. And you can also find more links for the shows and also for my books and different things that I'm doing. So I hope that you will stop by there and also find out more about my book, Think Like an Entrepreneur. 2 books actually that have that title, which is probably what led me down the road of doing the podcast. So you can check that out. And also I think that ties in also with our topic of the educational marketing. And I'll kind of explain that as we get into our discussion. Okay, so please make sure you stop by those sites. And also, my co-host, Kerry Heaps, is founder and president of Kerry's Network, Inc., a membership-based organization that provides exposure for business owners with access to the media and association directories. And she's also the publisher of Strictly Marketing Magazine and the host of Strictly Marketing Talk Radio. And Kerry has an extensive background in sales, networking, recruiting, and training, and her marketing development book, Marketing Ideas That Make Sense, covers networking, cold calling, establishing yourself as an expert, creating your own media, marketing ideas, and sample scripts. And you can find that site at www.strictlymarketingmagazine.com. And also, she has another site, Strictly Women in Marketing, and you can find that site, www.strictlywomeninmarketing.wildapricot.org. And if you stop by that site, you could find information about getting a free download. So please make sure that you visit those sites and find out more about Kerry and the information that you can get from her about marketing, because she's certainly an expert and she has a lot to share. So please make sure you check that out. So as I said, our topic is going to be about educational marketing, and it is a very hot thing. Looks like every time you turn around, someone's doing a class. So providing a class, I guess you could say. And quick mention before we really get into the discussion, as I was saying before about my book, Think Like an Entrepreneur, and how that tied in for me with educational marketing was in 2010 when I first published the book. Originally, I was thinking about doing classes, and I did do some workshops to some extent, going over the points in the book. And that was a way at the time, before a lot of this online stuff really started blowing up, was a way for people, fiction, non-fiction writers, more often than not, to get out there and, teach things based on the concepts in their book. So if you were a coach and you wrote a book about the things that you coach around, then you could take those different points and go out there and do workshops and talk and really tie that back to, the things that you specialize in, your expertise. So I think that things started off that way, and still do, of course. People, of course, still do workshops like that. But now there's a whole new dimension. And educational marketing, a lot of it going on online. Of course, you can be face-to-face, but a lot of the online stuff is really, I feel, blowing up right now, and I think it's really worth taking a look at. So, Kerry, I'm just going to throw this out to you. How would you define educational marketing?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me back on the show. It's always great to co-host with you here. How would I define educational marketing? Well, I would say it's going to be any product or service that you can offer to market what you do. But to be able to use it as a marketing tool, you're typically going to have to offer it at a discounted price or as a free type product or service. The reason I say that is because if it's going to be, marketing, educational marketing, the whole premise of that is you want the person to experience what you have to offer. It's kind of like a try before you buy. Okay, type product. So they need to be able to experience that. So it needs to be something, it could be an ebook, it could be a free download, a free video, white paper, free class, like an introductory class. So, but something that they're actually going to get value out of, that when they walk out of that free class or using that free product, that they really understand what it is that you do, and if they want more, they can come back at that point or at a later time and get more of what you have to offer. So it just kind of gives them that free taste. It's kind of like sampling. We've all been to the grocery store where you have those people handing out different samples, whether it's a drink or it's food, and, would you like to try a sample of, and they fill in the blank, and, it's this way what that product tastes like, and if you like it, then you can buy it right then and there. They usually have a coupon that they're going to give you, so if you don't want to buy it now, you can come back later and use your coupon. So it's something that's going to, I would really just kind of define it as a try before you buy marketing tool. Does that make sense?
Yes, I really do think it does. And but I think I have a question for you. As far as a lot of what you're seeing right now, I know we're both seeing these classes and these sites, in some cases these mega sites that people are offering all these trainings. Do you see it also as a way for people to not even just those who try before you buy, but those who are just making that education the product in itself? It's not like PDF download. We've done them. I have a few out there right now where someone's going to get a taste of your coaching or a taste of your expertise, but that the class itself is what you're selling. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, again, I go back to, if you're going to use it as an actual marketing tool, like let's say, for example, if you have a class that we're working on a class right now about follow-up, okay, to, really, people can really sharpen up their follow-up skills, how, have a follow-up process, what they're supposed to be doing, and so forth. So when they take the class, when they pay for that, they're getting the whole class. They're getting a full plate. Where we are looking at doing an intro class to that, which would be a free class, but also something that we can use when we market the class on podcast or in different blog posts or advertising that we might be doing with a magazine, where they're actually learning sort of the intro part of that. So it gives them enough that they could take what they learned and apply it to their follow-up skills, but they're not, but if they want more, or if they want to really have the full experience, then they have to sign up for the class. So I think if you do a class, definitely having like a shorter version of it that you can use to market it. And that would even be helpful if someone is going to market their class on different podcasts or radio programs or TV programs. You got to give people a certain amount of information that they're going to feel comfortable signing up or, doing something with you. So, with that being said, I would just recommend that you take what you have and take, it's kind of like cutting up a cake. You take a tiny little slice, and that's what you should be giving away for free if you're going to create an educational product. And you could do the same thing with a download, a white paper or like the top 20 tips that are going to take your business to the next level, and have it as a free download. And then, of course, if they want more, you can always, like I said, give them a coupon, give them some type of discount to move forward into your other class. So, again, going back to what the whole purpose is about, it's really educating the consumer on what you can do for them.
Exactly. I think that is an excellent point. Is you can give them an idea of what, what you can provide if they just, get a piece of this or whatever. And I'm seeing that with some entrepreneurs, for instance, who are one in particular who does web design, but she does more of like the back end kind of coding and things like that. Mm-hmm. And she has started giving more online classes. And first she had something on PDF that was like a whole class that you might buy, a whole, PDF download. And then I noticed last year she made that a free download because it looked like she was doing some other things. And now what she's doing, she has a site that I believe is part of Fedora, but I believe that's now become Teachable.com. And she may give away, or make available, maybe I should say, some free smaller classes for subscribers. But then she has like one or two bigger classes that are a larger financial investment that are dealing with certain, marketing things or dealing with how to create ads in Facebook or how to set up their newsletter. So I'm seeing a lot of that too, where they're going to, as you said, they're going to offer some smaller bites of information, either free or at a very discounted price, because one of her things was like $7. But then she may have a larger class that she offers, also. So you do get an idea of what her style is like and her teaching style is like and showing her expertise before you might possibly make a larger investment. So I'm definitely seeing that kind of thing a lot right now, where people are setting these things up in a smaller scale, but then there's usually a bigger class down the road that I'm guessing they're going to lead you to at some point, or you may start to say, oh, these smaller classes were good, or the free class was good, so let me check out this other thing that may be like $1,000 or something.
Yeah, and I would say, just to kind of interject there too, because there's two different ways that you can work it. You can do it that way, where you can, do a free class, and then if they want the upgrade, to give them more. And there are some people that you can actually do an educational marketing product that is going to be robust, free or very low cost, and, to where they wouldn't have to do anything else if they didn't want to. I mean, you could do it two different ways. I don't think there's one way that's better than the other. You're still going to have a certain amount of people who are going to sign up for your product because it's free. They're going to download it because it's free, but they're never going to read it. They won't attend the class, but they got it because it's free. So you're going to have a certain amount of those people anyway, and you're also going to have a certain amount of people who will get your free product, and they're going to move forward to the next level. They're going to, sign up for the next class, or they're going to, find value out of it. I would definitely say with the educational marketing, Deb, I think that there is a lag time with that because, again, somebody might download that free downloadable book, but never read it or read it 6 months later and then go back to your site. So, and then you're going to have some that don't read it at all and just sign up right away for the class. So you're going to have, different things that, can be done with that. So you just have to kind of, figure out what is going to be, and I would say too, test it. You could test it two different ways. I recently purchased a book because of that. The book was free. I paid for shipping and handling that was like $5 or whatever, and I got the book within 2 days, and I got through it. And of course, I'm going to go back and take this person's class as well. So, because there's some really great content. So I would definitely say making sure that, whatever it is that you are giving away for free, don't discount the quality. Make it just the same kind of quality as if they were paying for it, but also realize, too, that probably for every 10 that get it, you might have 1 or 2 that come back and do something more with it right away. And it could be years or 6 months before they get back with you and do something else. So you never know.
Yeah, that's a very good point to make. The people aren't expecting overnight magic, results. That it may take a while to build that up, and the people who download that class or participate may not just turn around and purchase right away. You may have to really work with them for a while before you get to that point. It's you know, you got to have kind of patience that that's going to happen that way. It's not going to magically go that they're just going to download that initial class and then right away. Oh, okay, I'm going to invest more money with you. It's going to take time to go through those steps. You know, it still is going to take time. The whole funnel process is going to take time no matter what. So this isn't going to just quickly happen, I think. You know, so that's a good point to make. So what would you say the top 3 things that people need to know when they're creating these educational marketing products?
I would say, first and foremost, you know, again, make sure that your education or that your marketing, educational marketing product or service that you're giving is of great value. You know, put the same time and effort into it that you would for a paid product or service when you're creating it. So make sure that it's high quality, because think about this, if you're doing it for people to sample, it's just like going into the grocery store and somebody hands you, would you like a free sample of this cheesecake, and you take that sample and you bite into it and it's the worst tasting thing that you've ever had. I mean, obviously, you're not going to come back and buy the whole thing. I mean, you know, because it tasted so bad. So you want to make sure that whatever they're testing is of high quality, first and foremost, and to have some type of plan involved with it. So let's say, for example, if it's a white paper or a free book or a download, where they're ordering it, make sure that you capture their information, because you want to make sure that you can add them to your email distribution list, send them a thank you note, send them a coupon, send them something, you know, to continually market to them. So have some type of marketing plan in mind, you know, when you're doing that. So it's the same thing, too, if you're handing out a free, you know, sign up for our free class. You know, you're going to have people register, so you're going to be gaining their information. Take that opportunity to find out more about what they're looking for. You know, don't just get name, rank, and serial number. Find out, you know, what prompted you to take this class. If we offered classes on any of the below topics, would you be interested? Check all that apply. You know, make it easy for them to tell you as much information as possible. Okay, so that's another thing. And I would say the last thing would be market it as much as you can. Put it on social media, email it out to people, talk about it on you know, your media outlets, talk about it if you're on someone else's show, you know, let people know. We have on our Strictly Women in Marketing website we've got a free download, the top 5 tips to gain more media coverage, and it's a $49 value, but it's a free audio download, 5 different tracks. So, you know, if people go to the site, we capture their name and their email. But we're only doing it to, you know, add people to our email distribution list so we can let them know about other classes or memberships or things like that that are coming up that they would be interested in. So we have a pretty focused goal for that. You know, the other portion of it is just to make sure that you are, you know, letting everybody know about it. Don't just assume that because you put it on your Facebook fan page that people are going to see it. One thing that we just noticed recently, where I was a guest on someone else's show, I promoted it quite a bit on social media, but this person did as well. They probably promoted it about 20 times more than I did. I think I lost count. It got retweeted about 120 different times just on Twitter alone. Not just with myself, but with other people that, you know, follow this podcast. And we wound up with a little over 5,000 people downloading that show that I was on. So, you know, you have to consistently promote, and you've got to do it a lot. And especially when you're, you know, usually with an educational marketing plan, there's something coming down the pike that you want to promote. It might be another class, it might be a book coming out, but you have a timeline to that. So make sure that you're promoting it to the maximum capability during that time frame.
Exactly, and I think that's so important also to note. And I think it's just like any other product launch. You can't just think that I'll just, you know, tell a few people and I'm going to get the maximum effect. You know, the classes that I've signed up for recently, I know that these people have a lot of people on their list, and they also have other people who are promoting their class on their list. So it's something that takes a lot of time to get to that point, you know, so the average person may see that and see these people offering classes, and I know there's classes about offering classes, or, you know, however you want to call educational products, and people may underestimate how much goes into promoting that. I think they may, because I think it's easy to do. You see someone send something out, and you figure, well, this will be easy for me to put something together and send it out. But, notice that if you're on different lists, then those lists are also promoting that same thing at the same time a lot. A lot of the time when these people have relationships with each other. So they're bringing in a lot of people to take these classes. So it's you really, if you're going to make that investment to build something, or you're going to go to one of these sites, if whether you do a PDF yourself, which is probably going to be the lowest cost investment, or if you're going to go to a site like Teachable and create an online class, an online education product, then that's going to be a bigger investment of time and money. And now you're going to have to really be concerned about how you're promoting it, marketing this particular thing you're doing. So it may be best to just kind of start off at a smaller scale and kind of work your way, to something bigger if that's something that you think you want to do. And just don't lose sight of that, of the work involved and the numbers that you really need to reach out to get them to see you have this product out here. I think, it may seem simple, but it really isn't to do that.
It's not, and of course, it's like anything else, time and effort has to go into it. And like I said, too, don't assume that, everybody's going to grab it because it's free, or it's an educational product that, it's, at a discounted cost. You're going to get some interest, absolutely. It's just like everything else, but you do have to promote it appropriately. And, like I said, measure the results. You might have to tweak it the next time and do something a little bit different, or, make it where you are, you have kind of an intro class that's free, and then if they want to take the second part, that's a paid class. So there's several different ways that you can work it. You just have to figure out what's going to really speak to your audience and, letting people know. Obviously, there's so many things out there where, people will do a free class, and then if you want to continue on, it's kind of a, spend several $1,000s.
Right.
My suggestion would be, too, is, have a couple of different options. You could always have something that is, informative for, somebody that really wants something intensive, but then have something else that's, just a continuing class that's not as expensive, that people can sign up for. So there's several different ways, but it's just a way for you it's a fine balance of educating the consumer on what you do, educating them on the actual topic of what that is, but making it not sound like an advertorial, having a good balance, because you want them to recognize, yes, you're an expert, and here's why, and, giving them the lay of the land of what's going on, and then go from there. So, you really have to do a fine balance. I find the ones that it's all about, this free class is all about how they got started, how they, overcame those obstacles, and it's all about them. So basically, they got to sit there for free for an hour and listen to you talk about you. And that's definitely the wrong way to do it. So, and we've all been there, of course. We've all seen that. So you want to make sure that they understand you're an expert and here's why. Again, it goes back to giving them the same amount of content, the same quality of content as if they were paying for it.
Right. I agree completely. So, and that probably ties into, my question, what are some common mistakes that people make when they're using these tools?
A couple of things. I would say a couple of the mistakes that they make, I think their expectations can be very out of whack. They're either very unrealistic. Again, don't assume just because you're giving away a free product that everybody's going to come running. Back in our modeling days when I did promotions, we would stand out and, hand out free samples or hand out, whatever at a concert or at, an event, and we might have like 150 pieces of marketing material to give out, and it would be fun stuff. I mean, we'd hand out stuff like golf tees, hamburgers even, at some, different events of, depending upon what the product was and who our client was. But, even with that, it was hard to get people to take stuff. So, having realistic expectations, don't, again, think you're going to sell out or, just have realistic expectations. We'll leave it at that. But expectations could be a whole nother show. So, yeah, definitely making sure that you are having your expectations in line. Don't expect that much. That way you're not disappointed. The second thing I would say, a lot of people make the mistake of they just don't market it or don't market it right. So have some kind of plan. Again, go back, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just like my goal, number 1, create an educational marketing product. Number 2, distribute it. Number 3, put it on Facebook, put it on Twitter. But, definitely have a very breakdown of what the goals are going to be, how you're going to do this, how it's going to get accomplished, and so forth. So have a goal, have a plan, and make sure you execute it that way. And make sure, again, that you really, really, really promote it. Give it your best shot. Don't just tweet it a few times on Twitter. We're finding now with social media that, you have to promote something at least 60, 70 times to really get any kind of traffic. No, it's true, because if you think about it, not everybody's logged in all the time. If they are, they might be on Hootsuite. Maybe they don't see their feed at all. There's other people that have other people doing their social media for them, so they're not seeing it at all either. And you might have to try to catch them on the days that they are logged in there. So you really need to promote it very hard. Put it on your email distribution list, put it on your website, have your friends help you promote it as well or share your post. So really put in some effort of getting the word out there. And even too, I would even say if you have a free product, a printed product, or, something that you can physically hand out, you could take that to networking functions and hand those, here's a free sample, this is what I do, here's the sample copy of my book, or whatever the case may be. So you can do that. And that works very successfully. We've done that before with classes where we have 20% off, a 20% off coupon, and we just handed those out at different chamber events, and we even went out in public and handed them out, just doing cold calling on offices. So you can get creative. There's a lot of different ways that you can do that. You can put it on people's windshield. I mean, I think people still are allowed to do that in some states, but there's tons of different ways that you can promote what you're doing. So make sure that you execute that plan. And, like I said, I see where most people fall apart is on the marketing. And I think sometimes it's just that fear of, they feel like they don't want to promote themselves, and you have to do it. Marcia Dahl, who is a very good friend of mine, she was just recently on the cover of the magazine, and that is the two things she taught me. And one of them was, if you're not promoting yourself, why should anybody else?
That's good.
So you have to be your number one promoter. And get the word out there. And it's not bragging, it's marketing 101, just like she said in, the article that we did on her. So you really, and she's in that business of promotion, so she works with educational type products all the time, handing out samples, handing out, different things that people can touch and feel, and it's really a very powerful thing.
That's an excellent point. And also what you're saying about people having to really see these things more and more and more before they take action. I think that's very interesting, because there's discussion about that as well. And, that's probably something that could be for another show. How often do people have to hear from you or see you mentioned before they really retain what they're seeing? People may not be on at a certain time, and they may not be paying attention. Someone else is doing their social media, and people kind of relying on social media as the way to get the word out, but it's not a realistic way to put all your eggs in that basket either. Because, as you said, I think there's definitely an increase in how often you have to get out there and be out there and be in people's faces, so to speak. I would think gone up, because there is so much going on and so much in our faces all the time, and so much stimulation that people, I think, get used to just kind of shutting off, or walking away from social media. You hear people do that. I know I've done that myself on occasion. So you can't just depend on that as the one vehicle to get in front of people. You can't forget all the other ways that you touch people as well. And what I was saying before about doing in-person workshops, I've done them at the library or done them in front of a group. You can still take what you know and take the the educational product and turn it into something that you work with the person directly. You work with the group. You present it right there live, because you can't just rely on that one way to get the word out. Of course, it depends on what you do and what your business is, but don't eliminate all these other avenues and think, well, just must be social media and this is the only way I can get out here with this, or not taking into consideration that a lot of these people that have these bigger classes or have been doing them for a little while may have these bigger networks, or bigger email lists, and that's a big part of how they're getting, the people at least to see their free classes. You don't know how much sometimes what has gone on for someone to actually get someone to pay, but just understand it may take a while to get to that point. Mm-hmm. It may not happen overnight, so don't have that expectation and lay out a whole bunch of money and then you don't see the results that you're expecting to see. It's like anything, any kind of product launch, I guess. It's really what I'm saying. That takes time. It may take time in planning to build up to that, but you can start somewhere, and starting a little smaller may be the way to do it, and just showing people what you can provide for them, and then working your way, through that to a point where maybe you're offering much more. You're getting them to that bigger product that you're selling. Mm-hmm. Just to be realistic, I guess, is really what I'm saying, because I don't think people always are.
Absolutely.
In their expectation of what they think is going to happen when it's all over. I think they may be expecting something a lot bigger, because they see a lot of these people out here doing that. I was on a call, I think about 2 weeks ago, and the person has some online classes, but they're PDF for the most part right now. Then they do some workshops or a mastermind where they may sign up with someone, over a period of time to go through a whole process. And they were relying a lot on Facebook ads to get the word out about their particular educational product. And when someone was asking, well, how much did you spend? And they were like, they spent like $5,000 for one product that they were promoting. And this thing, I don't think it was a real high-end product, but they were leading them to other products. But I believe the person spent that much just pretty much to get people on her list. Mm-hmm. And she felt that once she had these folks on her list, then down the road she was making more money, because then when she offered the big paying product, that she had more people buy into that. But when someone was asking, for a little bit more about the numbers, she couldn't provide them. Mm-hmm. She kind of said quickly she had to check with her accountant or something like that.
Right.
And I was like, maybe she wasn't prepared to answer that, but that kind of, turned me off a little bit, because I kind of felt if you're going to throw these numbers out here, that people are now, listening to you in this free presentation to know how they can do what you've done. Mm-hmm. And first of all, you're talking about this major investment in Facebook ads, which is not cheap. And then you can't really quantify it as to, well, I had this many sign-ups at the end of the day and this many people paying. It's kind of tough. Mm-hmm. People really need to have some nuts and bolts about how this thing you did here is going to lead them to, to this other product and being paying customers. And if you can provide that, if you can share the information, I just really think it would have been better if she could have done that in a better way. Because if not, then people are going to go off on this kind of half-baked belief that, well, I'll just buy a whole bunch of Facebook ads and then I'll get people signing up and then I'm somehow going to get all my money back. And, I'm just very cautious about that, because there's so many ways one can lose one's money.
Well, and I think the bottom line is, too, with marketing, there's no, and I used to say this all the time, and I think I'm going to starting to say it again, there's no one magical key that's going to make your business work. You've got to do a little bit of everything. You've got to do a little bit of advertising. You have to do a little bit of networking. And you also have to do a little bit of cold calling and so forth. And, if you don't do all of that, you're not going to see any results.
Yeah.
We still, to this day, we still swear by cold calling, that is the best and most effective way to find clients for our business. And I don't know that will ever change, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to try other things to see if they work. It's funny that you talk about Facebook ads, because I see a lot of educational marketing going on there, where people are, sign up for our free whatever. But, like I said, there's always a hook that they're going to do something else, and they should, because none of us can work for free. That's just unrealistic to even think that. So, but just knowing that going in, that here, I learned some great information, but, there's a class coming up, or there's something else coming up. I hope I'm able to, to do this. So, and if not, then, you don't have the money, or maybe you can sign up to do the extensive class or the paid class later. But, there's just so many different ways that you can work it. But, again, you're going to see results, but it's never going to be, there's so many people that will say, if I can just make $30,000, I'll be caught up. Well, can you do that? Yes. Is it going, can you do it in a couple of months? You probably could, but the amount of work and time and effort you'd have to put in there, you'd really need to be up at, make sure that you're at your desk at 8 o'clock, work through lunch, work late every night. You'd really have to go out of your way to make it work. Because I seen people who have done that, with handing out samples or some type of educational marketing piece. Yeah. But, again, they'll even tell you, there were 6 months that I worked 60 hours every week straight, no days off. They really put in the time and the effort to get it done. And I just find that it's an unrealistic thing for people to do, because most people have other things going on in their life. They have family, they have this, they have that, and it just can't be done.
That's a good point. But, as we were talking before the show, I think sometimes people get in over their heads because they just don't understand how large this can be.
Yeah.
How really big an effort it is to do these things, if you're putting together your expertise in the PDF or something like that, then, that might be a procedure where you're taking some materials you already have. I know that's what I did, and putting them together. And, it's not a whole big thing that's going to keep you working late for weeks and months and years. But, with what's going on right now and these online courses and sites really getting bigger and bigger, I think people may sometimes be underestimating what's involved for them to get involved with that. Those sites like, lynda.com was the first one I'd really heard of before, where people can teach a class. I don't know quite how that works, how they develop the class, if they do it for you, if what the idea is. But doing things like that takes a lot of work. It takes work to put the information together, promotions, marketing. That can really be great for making some money and also for showing people your expertise. But, don't underestimate the work involved in putting any of these things together. Because it does take time. It takes work. It takes promotion. So, it's not something I think people should go into lightly, thinking, oh, this is just another way for me to get some money and I can throw something together. And, really understand that.
Yeah, and I will tell you, like with lynda.com, and of course there's Udemy, that's another one. And those are some great sites. And I would even say, too, any educational marketing product, like a class that you're thinking of putting together, that would be a great hosting platform, because you're going to benefit from their traffic. And, people do have to put in their own, I think lynda.com, I think they do it for you. But I know with Udemy, they do it. You have to do it yourself. But you could always do a beginning class and, then do an upgraded class and have it on the same platform, because, again, you're going to be benefiting from their traffic. You can promote it. It's a very well-known site, and it's just a great way to go. And, again, it just kind of gives you that. What's great about that platform, too, is once you create that class, it's up there, it's done. And if it is a paid class, it's not duplicating your efforts. You're getting paid for that one time over and over and over.
Mhm. Mhm. So, how do you think that people can judge the results they're getting from creating these products?
I think, what could be, again, I think people have to be realistic. So again, I think that if you create a class, you still have to promote it. If it's on their platform, you're still, none of us are released from that. So, you've got to promote it. And I think if you do a class, I would say give it a month, for signups and so forth. Or if it is a class that's pre-recorded, you can immediately start marketing that. But I would say if it is a live class, we'll just go with that, a live class, and you have a month to promote it, and your goal is to get, let's say, 20 people, I think that if you get 7 to 8 without doing any paid advertising, that's a good success rate, I think. Simply because you've been able to do it without paying for any Facebook ads, and you have people that have signed up and they've paid, and those are 7 or 8 people that you can take to the next level. Now, obviously, the longer you have to promote it, the better. It is statistically true that people still sign up for classes last minute, like within the last 24 to 48 hours before it actually starts. So, keeping that in mind as well, that most of it may come 24, just like events. It's typically 24 to 48 hours. That's when people, if they're going to go, that's when they buy a ticket. So you always see a big influx of that. Now, it might be more than that. Again, there's so many different things, different components that are in there. It's how you've been marketing it. What kind of class is it? Is it something that's, people are really searching for information on right now, or is it something that there's 30 other people teaching the same thing you're teaching? There's so many different things that factor into it. So I think, from a marketing perspective, and when you keep that perspective in mind, that you're basically getting paid to market your product. Because if it's an educational marketing product, let's say it's $50 per head, you basically got paid to bring those 7 or 8 people into your business.
And you're referring to like say a lynda.com or things like that.
Well, I believe, lynda.com, I think they actually do the class for you. I'm not 100% sure how they work. I do know that Udemy, you're creating your own material.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because each one seems to have their own thing or their way of how they, how you work with them. Because I believe like Teachable, I believe you develop your own class from what I'm seeing. People are developing their own classes, and then they have like their own kind of part of the site that, it doesn't have the branding, but that, you're probably paying not to have their branding, to have your branding on there. So it looks like it's just your site, but not a part of theirs. So those are, I think, a little bit more elaborate, classes. Not to say that you have to have, tons and tons and tons of lessons, but I'm saying that the ones I've seen on there so far, the people have video and, audio, and they have different things going on. So it's not something that they're doing just for one download, let's say. It's a little bit more elaborate and more things going on. So, that's something people need to consider if they're looking to make that kind of investment to really, see what it is they want to provide, how they want to provide it, what's the information, what makes sense for them in their business. Don't make it a thing that you're following what other people are doing if it's not a good fit for you and, in your pocketbook as well. And, I guess I'm emphasizing that so much because I remember, not too long ago, excuse me, where everybody, all the online marketing people all seem to have the signature product. And I don't know, I'm sure you remember this, Kerry, where you would get this binder with tons of things to put in it. And, sometimes DVDs or CDs, and a big old box would come, and they were usually around like $4.97 or something. It was always something ending in a 7 that you would receive, and then you had all this paper, you put in the binder, da-da-da-da. And, some of the time, that stuff wasn't all that great. it wasn't necessarily things that you need to put in this gigantic binder, but I remember one of those workshops, a person was saying, oh, you give people the box and the binder, and if you're sending them DVDs, CDs, you use a DVD box because it's bigger, and it gives them a sense that they're getting more.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's interesting. All of it was to give you all this stuff to put together to make it worth the money you were spending for this information. And sometimes it really wasn't worth it. I can tell you honestly, I'm one of those people who spent money on some of those.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel like I necessarily learned all that much from them. But at the time, not knowing any better, and at that time, which it really wasn't that long ago, that's kind of how it was done.
Mm-hmm.
They were selling the signature product, and that's all well and good. But I think a lot of people ran out there and thought, I have to put these products together, and I have to do what they're telling me. And you make all these investments, and then you're not getting the same result that they're getting.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have all the networking, and they have all the promotional things in the email list, and all that in place to distribute all these things and pay for these things to be distributed and to printed and all that they were doing at that time. So now when you go to a workshop or a class or a webinar and someone's telling you how to create your own online class, it's just important to me that people really stop and think, what is it that you want to present? How much do you have to invest in this thing? What is the end result that you want to get to? If you just want to give people a taste of what you can do, then maybe you don't really have to go through all that. You can do the PDF, or you can go and do the in-person workshop or the webinar, or whatever you can do that doesn't require you to make gigantic investments and do all this stuff that doesn't really line up with where you want to go anyway. It's just important that people keep that in mind. Because it could possibly be another thing where everyone runs off to do these things and then they realize this isn't really what I want to do, or this isn't leading me where I thought it was going to lead me. And, just a word to the wise.
Mm-hmm.
That's there. That's all.
And, again, when you're creating it, educational marketing, again, it's a fine balance of what goes in it. And, there's just so many different things that people can create to do that. Definitely.
You can even do videos on YouTube. It's not even necessary that you have to do any elaborate trainings, that you have to go and set up, something on a training site or whatever. If you've got something put together, or you just do recordings and upload them yourself, if you're giving people a taste of what you can do, then, that's good too. Maybe you're already doing something with video, or audio, or whatever. Start where you are already and see, can I use that, to present more information about what it is that I do and market, what I do. Don't feel that what you're doing right now, if that's working for you, take a look at it. Maybe you can expand it where you are. If you already have something in place, don't overlook that.
Absolutely, I would agree. Use what you have currently. That's always a good starting point.
Yeah, I'm definitely pretty big on that, and I think the reason I emphasize that so much is I was one of those people that spent a lot of money at one time, following a lot of people who were saying do this, and not realizing that they were in a different position than I was, and then there you are, you invested all this money, but it wasn't really leading you where you want to go. So that's why I emphasize that so much, to really take a look at it. And maybe I would suggest even taking some class, if you're interested in something, taking it first to get a feel for it for yourself, to see how you would present, what you're doing if you're looking to do something more elaborate. Or, PDFs, if you could see what other people are doing and get a feel for what kind of information people are presenting out here, and, how you feel that, you can find a way to present your information as well, in a way that makes sense and is readable and, looks good and really shows off your expertise. Just do a little homework and see what's going on out here, and then you get a feel for that. And there's, a way for you to present what you do. just have a plan in place of where you want people to get to, where you're leading people to, your subscribers or potential customers. You know, what is the end result you'd like to get to, and what would you like to show about what you do, and what do you want them to come away with?
Yeah. And then, of course, always having that call to action, whether that's a coupon, discount, or what the next step is. Always have that expectation set up.
Exactly. So, and also to kind of know what it is that you want them to do next. Mm-hmm. So, you know, because sometimes people don't think about that. What is the next step? Should they call you? Are you going to call them? Or, you know, or are they going to go become part of some other group? I'm seeing a lot of people now doing a thing where even if you sign up for something free, they're also asking you to join a private Facebook group. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing that more and more.
Well, I believe that, some of the social media sites are kind of replacing the email distribution list where, because, if I get you to follow our Facebook fan page for Strictly Marketing Magazine, and you're not on my email distribution list, I know I have a better chance of you at least seeing my post rather than my email getting lost in your spam folder. And you can usually track and see how many people, not which ones, I don't think, but, how many people have opened up. And the open rate is always higher, or view rate, whatever you'd like to call it, on Facebook than it is on an email distribution list.
That's a very interesting point, because a lot of people don't say that. They don't, people are still kind of saying, oh, you've got to do the email or else kind of.
Well, I think we've gotten to a point where it used to be people had to see our messages, I think, 6 or 7 times before they'd make a purchasing decision. And now I think that number has doubled at least, because we have so much information thrown at us all the time that we're not comprehending it or not seeing it all. So if you put your message in front of somebody 12 times, out of those 12, they might only see it once or twice.
Exactly. So that's something else again as well. It's really adapting to all the changes and being aware. Of what you can do to kind of stay ahead of the curve, I guess, is a way to look at it. Because I've done more visual marketing for the podcast, because I saw a couple of articles about it, and I'm already am on Canva.com, and that's a free online graphics program, or there's a paid version as well. And I just started doing that and pinning them and putting them on Facebook as well, because it's just another way to get out there, another way to show people, hey, I've got this podcast and this what's happening on it this week. It's that kind of thing. So something else to pay attention to as well. Look at where the trends are as well. If you don't, as we were saying, if you don't have that way, that call of action, or that way to direct them somewhere else that they can stay in touch with you, then all that work that you're doing, may not really lead to where you want to go, because then they're kind of gone, after they download that thing, or they come back. Or is there another way for them to stay in touch? You have your social media, if that's, how you want to do it, or Facebook page or whatever, that you can reach out to them and stay in touch with people. That's something else to keep in mind as well. The follow-up part is the important part of everything. So, I think we've gone over a lot of these little points for people to keep in mind for if they're creating an educational product to market themselves. Any final thoughts you want to share?
No, I would just say, probably just in closing, again, just, put some time and effort into your product, in, whatever this educational marketing product's going to be. Even if it's just 2 pages, because again, if it's not high quality, it's like handing out that cheesecake that tastes like, rotten sour cream. You just don't want to go there, because all that's, again, it defeats the purpose, and it makes the wheels go in reverse. So that's the best comparison I can give to people, is the cheesecake. Again, you're handing out your samples. You want to make sure that they are the absolute best. So when people come back and they want to buy whatever it is that you're selling, that they're going to think of you.
Exactly. And you want them to think of you in
a
nice
positive way. A
positive
positive way.
They don't want to think about bad cheesecake. So I think that's a perfect description, except anybody out there who doesn't like cheesecake, and I don't know who that could be, but just definitely think about leaving a good taste in people's mouth and really making them want to know more about you, want to connect with you, want to work with you. That's all important. But just, keep all that in mind. When you're seeing all these things out here now as people are talking about putting their information out there, PDFs or audios or videos or however you want to share it. Just really ask yourself these questions and see if this is the right move for you. And if so, then how can I present it in a way that makes sense? You have to follow the crowd and chase what other people are doing. Just do what works for you. I think that's the best thing that either of us could recommend that you do. So we've come to the end of another program, and I really hope you enjoyed it. And this show, as mentioned before, is in dbcoach.podomatic.com and also on iTunes. There'll be a link on the blog, also on Twitter, where you can find out more about the show and links in the blog, womenentrepreneurssecrets.blogspot.com. We'll definitely have links to the show, so definitely you can go there and follow the blog and really keep track of what's going on, or just go to Podomatic and, you can follow there. Or, of course, on iTunes as well, you could do that. And definitely visit Kerry's sites and keep in touch with what she's doing and with her podcast and the different things she's got going on with her directories. So please make sure you do that as well. So once again, Women Entrepreneurs Radio, your hosts, Deborah Bailey and Kerry Heaps. And thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you again next time. Bye-bye now.